Are you tired of feeling run down and exhausted? In our fast-paced world, we're often surrounded by toxins that impact our well-being. I provide holistic solutions designed to detoxify your body and environment. With cutting-edge AO voice scan technology, we identify the root causes of your discomfort or dis-ease, making personalized healing easier than ever. Start your transformative journey towards a healthier, toxin-free life, because at White Sands Self-Care, your well-being is our priority.
Most people aren't broken, they're just dysregulated. Chronic stress, pain, anxiety, and burnout aren't mindset failures. They're nervous systems stuck in survival. I'm Leland Holgate, combat veteran and neuroscientist, and I created the Welcome Home method to help people rewire their nervous systems with breath. And to go deeper, visit thewillfulwarrior.com.
Well, welcome everybody to another Mindful Monday. Now, have you ever felt like you're doing all the right things, working hard, delivering results, and yet still being overlooked? Our guest today, Emily Merola, is here to show us that success is not just about what you do, but how you are experienced by others. Emily is an executive presence expert, speaker, and founder of the Blazer Society, where she helps rising leaders go from overlooked to unmistakable. With more than 25 years of experience in high-stake leadership environments, she empowers professionals to build self-trust, communicate with confidence, and truly own the room. So please join me in welcoming Emily Merola to Mindful Mondays. Emily.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I just have to say that blue is really doing something for me. It's really complimenting your skin tone and your hair color. So we're just going to start off on that note.
Well, thank you. I take that as high praise coming from you. So thank you. I've just always been attracted to blues and the water, and it's not because of the Air Force and the Air Force blue. I like the Caribbean blue water. So yeah, that's why I get the blues.
Well, that's where we want to be in our mind, right? I
Right.
mean, at least for me, and I think that we have that in common.
Yeah. Well, I know, and you and I were just talking, so the path hasn't always been easy. So maybe before we jump into everything, maybe you can share with everybody a little bit about why you founded the Blazer Society and how that came about.
Sure, absolutely. The Blazer Society came to me about 2 years ago, and I swear that I had a vision baby over the weekend, and what like I had to extract out of my head all these sticky notes. They all had to come together, and it was like this vision got born that I needed to simply get into action through this courageous, consistent behavior, like just little bit every day. I started spending my money here and spending my money there, and we're going to call this the price of growth, okay? So we're allowed to do this. But along along that journey, I learned how to also give myself permission to grow and permission to commit to myself. And at the time, I was knee deep in a corporate insurance role where I was influencing a global network, throwing on a bunch of different hats, and really seeking to connect and extract collaboration from some difficult environments. And this was all being done through the pandemic, where the workforce, what I grew up in, was changing so rapidly. And all of a sudden, we were having to maintain a whole different kind of set of KPIs and have to up level our skill sets in ways that we never were. We weren't going outside of the house. We were in a Zoom constantly. Right. And then it became hybrid. And I almost became obsessed with creating these unique shared experiences for different kinds of audiences and really making them of value every time these people got together, something that had momentum that was being built and energy being built and community being built inside, it was really requiring me to tap into some serious growth. Every time I was bringing these insurance professionals who were very, very niched at what they were doing together. And they were competing with one another too. So that requires some psychological safety to be brought and some just community build that is unique, that's going to allow for the safety and for that collaboration to kind of like bloom. So I committed to that a couple of years ago. And out of that commitment, I was on a team, shared it with a group of women who we helped launch a global women's network within this group of insurance professionals. And what we saw over a 2-year span was, number one, that this was something that was so needed. And me personally, having to be a lot of the time the host of these gatherings, these quarterly gatherings where I was bringing speakers in and having to see around corners on behalf of this global network of women, insurance professionals all across, and trying to find a way to just bring us all together in a hard time where a lot of transitions were happening. The Vision Baby happened. The Blazer Society evolved just after one by one. Those people that I somehow managed to impact that I've never even met in person were starting to reach out to me and thank me for just whatever speaker we brought in that specific topic. It just honestly met them right where they were that day. And it was different than what we were experiencing. It was creating some sort of community. So what I was not allowed to boil the ocean in the corporate lane,
Right.
enter the Blazer Society. And that is just honestly evolved and refined. And it's still refining today. But the vision that I was given is very clear. And it's more clear today than it was then.
Yeah. No, and I love that. And there's, a couple of things you mentioned, and I think that's even when I was in the corporate world and all that stuff, the whole competition thing, it gets so stressful and to me so unnecessary. I prefer to collaborate. I think we can do more together collaborating, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
can only imagine how stressful that was, trying to put all of that together. And I don't know about you, but I've always worked in a lot of male dominated fields, which, I never, I never had a problem with, but things change and things continually change, as you mentioned, and it makes it difficult and it can make it very challenging.
Well, I really think that my last 25 years, certainly last 10, have uniquely positioned and postured me to be able to do the work that I'm doing right now. And I've felt the pain of being in executive roles, feeling the imposter syndrome, feeling viscerally that what have you done for us lately type of questioning from your peers and counterparts. There was always this prove your value type of culture. And it did not matter which company in the corporate world that I worked for. It was a different flavor at each one.
Right.
But no doubt, everybody had to prove their worth every day. And what became really frustrating was I tended to be in these distribution roles as I started to grow in executive ranks. And in those distribution roles, that is influence through relationships. Not always the easiest thing to measure those metrics. And whenever we're speaking KPIs and corporate lingo, it is really easy to kind of chuck some blame to different profit centers and just always be feeling the need to prove your worth and prove your value. And so I really started to think, you know what, there's something behind that. And I really, that aches my heart to know that, number one, I went so long without uncovering what my values were, which was keeping me unclear. And it was keeping me in a lack of clarity type of place where it was like I didn't know what my purpose was. I had an idea of what maybe my strength zones were, but I didn't know how to show up and clearly state my value because I knew it and I believed it and I was anchored in it. And so, because of all that pain that I had to go through, and even talking with a lot of my peers in the corporate space, we're not taught to think in those terms of like, this isn't a selfish thing, but we do have to be able to clearly have a narrative and share exactly what it is that we do that's unique, that brings value to the table, and that we're proud of. And so that changes the reframe for me. If I look back on those hard days when it was like, I'm feeling very overlooked, I don't know how to clearly communicate my value, I now know how to do that because I've done the work. So what I want to empower and equip younger, future ready leaders is how to do that for themselves. And not only how to do that for themselves, but to anchor themselves in the truth of where they should be playing, their strength zone, and why they are unique and why they should be showing up proud and ready to own the room, the space, whatever they're occupying.
Yeah, I was going to say, from everything you were describing, it sounds like you did all this beautiful work and hard work and were most likely overlooked. And you talk about going from overlooked to unmistakable, which is pretty much what we're here to talk about with this episode today. So what does that actually look like in real life?
Yeah. Well, this is probably my background is a great way to start and just kind of foundationally explaining who I am at my age, 42. I'm owning it, mother of four, right? 25 years of a career. There's a lot of things I could do today. I don't camouflage well. And so in a very conservative, sea of navy blue type of industry, I don't even want to thrive in that space anymore. I have the maturity to be able to accept that and see it for what it is and to have up-leveled my skill sets and really like leaned into it and got on a growth track and a growth journey for myself. And I'm proud of that today. But 5 years ago, I was in a real rut. And I was 100% in a place where I had lack of purpose clarity. I knew that I had a passion. I knew that there was aspects of what I was doing that I liked, but it wasn't ownership. I wasn't able to fully own anything that I was doing. And that became a problem for me after a while because I really am very much mission driven and impact driven. And at this point, I think it's like the mother in me. I do not have time to be doing a job that I don't know or can't feel that there's like big impact. And that number one, I'm playing exactly in my strength zone, my lane, and I can become masterful at this. And you too, right, listener, can do that for yourself. And that is what you should do. So that's really where like my growth track starts for my clients, is that we start with that purpose clarity because man, that opens up doors that you never could see in the place of feeling overlooked and just overwhelmed, burned out. Like add to the list, right?
Right.
You are just drifting. You're in the tube. You're drifting. The tide is literally taking you. And you're not even liking what you're doing. You're just drifting along. So it's time to get up out of that tube and get purposed. And that's really where we start.
Yeah, I always say when when you're doing what you love, you can tell because people light up, and otherwise you're just a means to the end, and it's
And let
just
me
kind of
tell
going
you,
through the motion.
I'm a problem solver. And because I've lived in this corporate world where I have felt and been on the other side of a lot of underwhelming customer experiences in the 25 years, it's like we need to infuse some passion into people around us because they're not effective. they're not able to clearly communicate what it is that they do. And that is seeping into results in team performance, in culture. And it matters. It all matters.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely does. And I have to say, I've known you for a while now, and every time I've always seen you just always so, beautiful, positive, and just put together. Would have never guessed, that you were 42 or the kids that you have. I mean, you just don't show that. You just show, the whole positive and the, you just like you're in your power. You just look like you're in your power, in your zone, and where you need to be. So,
It's funny you said that. And there is a woman that I worked with about a year ago. And there's a lot of truth tellers that I've sought out in this growth journey. I really like to bring those unsuspecting people into my life they're like a little gruff. You don't know what they're gonna do, right? But there's something there that you just know that you need their wisdom. You need their truth telling. And so I seek them out, and there was one particular woman, and I'll never forget when she said this to me, is she said, Emily, step into your power. And it stopped me. It really did. It stopped me. And I think there was an activation there. And so the power of activating each other through commands and through questions, we can't underestimate the power of those like simple moments that we speak into each other. And so you just reminded me of that moment, and it was like an extra reminder that perhaps I am modeling out what I preach, and that's exactly what I aim to do. So thank you for that.
oh no, my pleasure. I was going to say you can't help but to be uplifted around you, and that's kind of the people that we need to be around and be collaborative. We need to be uplifted and not feel like we're overlooked. But I know you talk a lot about presence. You can call it power, presence. What do you call it? When you say presence is how people experience you under pressure. Can you
Yeah.
break that down?
Yes. I really love the word presence. I really do. And I've literally used this to build out my framework. I'm calling it the presence elevator framework, where I'm bringing my client in on ground floor, and we're starting at purpose. And we're literally going and cementing every one of these truths about ourselves as we go up in the elevator. We're going to the penthouse. It's fancy up there, right?
Right.
And you have to speak. You have to speak in front of, like the client has to speak once they get up there. So there's a whole journey of cementing, and we walk through the word presence. But if we want to just drill this down, this world is so distracted. People are so distracted. Their minds are all over the place. And I blame the phones. I blame the hustle culture. And at the end of the day, we all just need a simple reminder that presence is right now and where you are. That's truth. And so for me, as a mother of four, I'm busy. I'm multitasking. I I like shiny objects, okay? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I do like shiny things, and especially if it's gold, and it doesn't need to be gold. It could be costume jewelry as well. I'm just that kind of girl. But to be able to sit and be present, give somebody your presence. And if you want to go even deeper on that, as a woman of faith, I need to be getting in my Father's presence as often as possible to make sure that I show up positive. Because I am just human. And let me tell you, girl, I'm not always positive. And if we were to be bringing in my people, as my mom calls it, she says, your people. There's a lot of them. There's 21 down to 3, all boys. They are like needing me for a lot.
Right.
And so I've had to grow in to this person, and I've had to grow in and train myself on how to be present for each one of them, undivided presence, when I've got a full-time career, when I'm trying to crack the code as to why I'm not getting the invitation to come sit at the table. And I got to manage dinner and 13 lunches this week and a date night with my husband. And, you add that on. And so I'm speaking to that person that I once was. I've learned to pick and choose my battles and unlearn a lot of crap. And I'm a little sassy at this point, and I kind of like it. And I'm just going to continue to be more sassy. And I'm going to wear colorful muumuus as I grow older and become the ultimate goal in life, glamour. And we're just going to continue to build off of that. And we're not going to go back, but focused on giving everybody my best presents. Because I've learned some things. When we're not our best self, when we're not purposed, when we're in the tube drifting and we have no control, we're not our best self. Like, we're not really that cute. It's really not that charismatic
Right.
or magnetic. Gravitas is not oozing in those moments.
It's not, but it's also okay because we have those moments. Like you said,
Yeah.
even the best of us, yes, we always talk about being positive and we find the positive. I know myself, I've snapped out of things quicker than what I used to because I know I have more tools in my toolbox that equip me to make those changes. I don't just spiral down, but that doesn't mean we don't all have our moments.
Yeah. And you know what? For me, what you just said there is, for me, that was such a foreign thing a couple years ago. And I remember that movie, The Help. And do you know what I'm talking about? The Help, with the woman, I believe her name was Abilene. And so she helped raise this young girl. She worked for this husband and wife, and was their caregiver. And she was so kind to this young little girl and just spoke life into her and was like, "You is kind." I can't remember the little phrase. There was 3 of them, but she just spoke beautiful life into her. And I remember seeking out an Abilene in my life a couple years ago. And that was really foreign to me. I did not ever think that there was dollars allocated in what I made that I could pour back into my growth at this point in my life. I didn't have clarity on really where my purpose was. And that was showing up in conversations in the boardroom, in my professional world. That was getting in the way of my growth and frustrating me. So we had to do something about it. And maybe some listeners are out there going through that same kind of self-discovery process that you just mentioned, right? You've
Right.
got these tools that you're now aware. You became aware. I became aware a couple years ago. It was a rough awakening, let me tell you. But I'm so glad that we got there. And so it's really important to get yourself around other people who are going to speak life into you, but also help you get aware, and also maybe like give you some tools. And I suspect you, my friend, are like a tool. You're a tool giver. I've seen you in action.
I have a few. I do. I have a few,
Yes.
and I know you were talking about professionally and stuff, and I know a lot of people like try to say work is work and home is home, but there really is none. Everything is interconnected. So I would imagine all of this affected your personal life as well.
Listen, when you take a person like me, I'm a high I on the disc personality. If your listeners are like, that's resonating. I'm an extrovert. You put me in a room of 1,000 people, and I'm going to be like a Tasmanian devil coming out with 1,000 new like cell phones and not able to go to bed for a couple hours because I'm buzzing. You do a pandemic to somebody like that, where it was like I was gone maybe 2-3 weeks out of my month, and that was like a rhythm that my family and I had But that was like part of who I am. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a daughter of the king. And I have a career. And I knew I had this purpose that I needed to dig up and get a little bit more clear. And so I had to hit rock bottom, quite frankly. And it was because of the pandemic that brought it to full alert, alert, alert awareness. We need awareness. We need self awareness. We need to check our environment. We need to do some auditing.
Right.
All of those things that kick-started that in myself. And I gave myself permission, and I'm so glad that I did. But it was a rough unknowing. My heart breaks for women who are going through that, where it's like they don't know that they can give themselves the permission.
Yeah, I think
I
there's
don't know.
I think there's a lot of that goes around. And I can only imagine how that was because I'm an ambivert, so I am only like 45% extrovert and 55% introvert. So yeah, the pandemic, didn't affect me that much. I mean, it affected me, yes. I loved getting out to meeting people, but yet I was fine with connecting on Zoom too. So, but I can imagine someone that is constantly used to, like you said, buzzing and being in the room. You don't have that anymore, and that's an extreme change.
It brought a huge fear for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was like 38. And so think about this as a young professional, and you are wanting to continue to grow. You're ambitious and you're feeling overlooked. And you don't exactly know how to overcome this and break up out of it. I felt like I was hitting the ceiling, right? And so I didn't have a lot of women speaking into me. And so that was definitely missing. And when we're isolated, we don't have that community. It is a really hard thing to get your strength and get into the game, right? And just do it scared.
Right.
So I would love to know my breakdown of the extroverted, what you just mentioned. Like, I would love to know my breakdown because I'm probably a quirky bird, but at the same time, I do need to be out with people. I need a nice mix of that. And it sounds like that's our new normal. This is our new normal where we got to get out and we got to do this and find a place of fulfillment that's sustainable.
Yeah. Well, there's a 16 personalities test that you can take. That's what
Okay.
was shown to me like many, many years ago. And even if I go back and retake it, and even though I know what the question's trying to get at and you try to cheat it, I might vary 1%, but that's it. Otherwise, it's just wild how they have these tests out there that you think they're just such off the wall questions. And when it brings out the whole summary, it's like they know you better than yourself. And it's just like, okay, how did you get that? How did you get that out of those questions? But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'll send you the it's you can Google it too. It's a 16 personalities test, but I'll Google you I'll send you the link.
I am a personality assessment junkie, so please do. Please do.
Oh, and there's so many different ones out there. There's the disc. There's
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
the bank
So
code,
many.
the bank codes, and yeah, you name it. There are all kinds of different things out there.
Yeah.
But so, what are the biggest mistakes high performing leaders make when they're trying to show up more confidently?
Honestly, I think that when you're trying to protect an image so fiercely that you sabotage yourself in fully being able to show up in your best self, right? In your strike zone, you're in that with conviction, knowing your value. And I think that performance and just trying to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with, if you're a high performer, you're wired that way. And we're in a really weird world right now where there's like the AI looming, everything is changing and fast, and you should be doing this and building AI bots, and it's all going to be different in a month, and you got to stay up. It's like, talk about fear mongering, right?
Right.
It really feels that way. And so I just said I feel for like the younger talent because I felt that way so surreally like in the last 5 years of all of the changes, the pandemic, the hybrid cultures. Now we're bringing in AI, and it's like, how does the human stay centered, anchored, locked in, all knowing with conviction, knowing exactly what they bring to the table and how they can help other people. What I love about purpose is that it's uncovering your best that you have to give to others.
Right.
That's where fulfillment lies. And a lot of people, they just don't even get started on that journey. And so that's why there's a lot of those assessments. There's a
Yeah.
lot of the things to assess because we all have different wiring systems, and there's tools to be able to guide us to communicate and connect with each other. But at the end of the day, that's about connecting with one another. But if we don't have like the inner knowing, that purpose, clarity, then it's really easy to get washed up and involved with all of the wrong things.
Hmm.
And everybody else and everything around you to determine what you are, who you are, what you do with your time, etc., etc. It's like proactive, reactive mode in many aspects. And a lot of people, they just need to wake up to the fact that they have this uniqueness. Only they have. Let's put some lipstick on that and bring it to the market, right?
Right.
Let's see how good you feel and how confident you feel once you uncover that. There's like really good fulfillment that lives beyond that knowing.
Yeah, and you brought up AI, so and I don't know where you stand on this, but I love the one guy that I had on there because he knows all the he studies AI and goes into like you said, he says whatever you do, don't call it artificial intelligence. He goes, it's really just another tool because
Yeah.
really it is. It's humans. It's we're the ones feeding it, the information, and
Mhm.
and it's really a tool that make it, you can get like information, you get things done lightning quick, and
Yes.
I don't know. I personally I think the younger generation is in a better position of accepting it and utilizing it for good. Anything can be
Absolutely.
used for good or for bad. I think it's some of the older generations that like really struggle and get terrified. But then again, it's like anything else. What are you going to tune into? Everyone that wants to say, oh my God, how bad this is, and that's all you're going to look at? Or are you going to look at some of the good things that it can really do and help?
I love it, and
Yeah.
yes. So, I'm a bridge gapper, right? I was raised but with baby boomers.
Hmm.
I understand them. I speak their language.
Yeah.
But I have four babies. I've got a what is it, a Zer?
I
Yeah.
don't know. They got Gen Y, Gen Z. They got,
And then I got a couple alphas, and those alphas, they're wild, but we're going to give them a job soon. But
right.
for right now, we're just, making sure they're eating their vegetables and stuff like that. But these communication, the generational communication gaps, I have felt that in my work experience. Like sandwiched on a day to day, felt like the tension, right? Where it's
Hmm.
like this generation just does not get this generation. They are not speaking to one another. So the best part of what I see is that these younger generations are brilliant in their own right, and they don't need us for information. They don't need the older people for information, and they are not going to like kiss the ring. They don't get it. They don't care. So there's going to have to be a get over yourself and lean into the fact that all of these different generations need each other. They really, really need each other. So I have my megaphone, and I'm trying to be a peacemaker as much as I can and model out what this looks like and maybe the whys as to why there's such generational breakdown in the workplace right now, where you see these younger Gen Zers, if you look at research, they are not lasting in jobs longer than like 90 days because these breakdowns are so real.
Hmm.
And I think there's just a simple fix, honestly. And there's a big reason why I went and got myself equipped to become a coach, because my kids need me to know that I'm in their court, and I need to be equipped on how to raise them to a higher standard. And that translates into all of my work and professional relationships too. And some of my older peers should probably take some notes.
Yeah, I'm like you. My mom is like of the baby boomer. I'm a Gen Xer, and then of course there's my sister's kids. And yeah, if you stick with the old school thought, they look at all of the newer ones or the millennials as lazy or they don't want to work. No, they're either bored or it's not, or it doesn't have the balance. They're not making an impact like they want to. It's
That's
not
right.
that they're lazy. It's just,
Right.
isn't a fit. They have a better way of doing things sometimes, but other people are not necessarily open to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to look at that. When they see their parents coming home stressed out, tired, hating their job, and
Hmm.
yet you think that they should follow your steps and do the same thing.
Yep.
Why? Life is way too precious to be doing that. These kids have got, they've got brains, they've got technology, they're embracing new ways, they got new ways of doing things, and
Yep.
the world really is their oyster. When you let them go, you do your job, you raise them right with the right morals, ethics, and then let them blossom into their own person.
This is how we need each other, okay? The
Yeah.
older generations need the younger ones for that technology, that savviness, to be able to think outside of the box and just see from a different perspective. We really need them for that help, right?
Right.
They need us not for information. They need us for interpretation. And they need us for the emotional intelligence aspect, the wisdom, right? The
Right.
lived in experience. And that has to all come from love. Not you are like lazy and all of these negative stereotypes that we hear.
Hmm.
And then you're slow and old and dinosaur or whatever. Like that is just got to go. There has to be like a spirit of collaboration. We,
Collaboration, mutual respect,
that's it.
openness. Yeah.
Be open to what you don't know, because think about how fast we could go together if we just simply humbled ourselves and got rid of some of that and just tried to connect with the people, regardless of their age, that we
Right.
have to work with on a day to day. Just a thought.
Yeah. Just a thought. Well, let's talk real quick about your presence framework. So, because it actually can change how someone is perceived in a room. So, how does your presence framework, do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 8 pillars. And as I mentioned, it's a elevator that is going up. So number one, there's nothing worse than getting into the wrong elevator, right? You're running late, or you're in a big city and there's like, it's overwhelming, it's intimidating. There's like elevator men and they're like kind of mean looking, and you've got to be quick and know exactly where you're going. And if you get into the wrong elevator and go up to the 48th floor and then have to come the whole way back down and get into the right one, that's kind of like getting in you have no purpose clarity. So first we start with purpose. We can bring all the assessment tools, all of that fun stuff to the table. What I want to know is the purpose, because that's where we build. That's where the money is. That's where the mastery is. That's where your absolute best self is. So that's where we play. And so we start and get in at ground floor and we start at purpose. We cement that. That's where we learn about our values. That's where we really dig in and find out like your clear purpose clarity. And then we build. So once we cement that, we're going up to the second floor, and that's regulation. We need to talk about this as a community. Other people, men, women, older, younger, need to talk about the different human wiring systems and how we calm ourselves down. Because you don't need to be a big stage keynote speaker to learn how to regulate your nervous system and be able to come up on stage and do the thing. You need to be able to do that just meeting with your client on a Tuesday morning at 10:30 and going over some changes that might rattle them and you don't even know how they're going to respond. So you're feeling very nervous. There is a regulation. Serious, like we need to learn how to do this. There's a vagus nerve. We have human systems we've got to talk about, we've got to borrow each other's hacks, and we've got to learn to regulate our nervous systems. So this is where we do this. Once we cement that bad boy, we're going up to embodiment. And this is where we do the last bit of like the internal stuff. Because I'm not a therapist, honey. I'm a presence coach. Okay?
Right.
I'm a presence expert. I'm going to help get you ready to own the room. But there is a bit of internal stuff that we've got to cement. Because if you're not clear there, everything is a little shaky, right? And you cannot own the room with a shaky, nervous, not cemented, like anchored identity of who you are and why you came.
Right.
So regulation, we've got the embodiment. This is where we are like, this is Laura with her beautiful red hair and her blue colors, this is where we bring that authentic person and we line it up with your values. And this is where we like cement that. There's congruence there from now on. And that means if that boss steps on your values or it makes you put your values up on the shelf, we're going to be very aware of that. Okay?
Yep.
If somebody steps on our toes and disrespects blatantly one of our core values, we decide we're not going to negotiate with terrorists going forward, right? This is where we cement that. Who we are, who God created me to be, align with my values, and we don't bend going forward. Next floor up, self-trust. I love this floor. This is where we really start to become like unshakable and we're working our way to unmistakable. So self-trust is where we stop exporting out our decisions to other people. And that means your husband doesn't make your decisions for you. That means your kids don't make your decisions for you. Your mother does not influence the decisions that you make. That means that your friends don't guilt you into going out on a weeknight or whatever and doing things that you don't want to do or they're just not fruitful for you anymore. That's where you learn to, like, you check yourself before you wreck yourself and you know yourself better than anybody else.
Yes, I do.
And that's an amazing self-awareness that we build on, right? And so that's where we start to become a little bit dangerous. So moving on up is expression, and I love expression because this is where you become, this is how you refine the way you communicate with people. This is the tone in which you speak. This is the body language in which you use. This is the way that you use color and how you style your hair and the clothes that you are wearing. Are they flattering? Are they bringing out the absolute best that you are able to show up confident and completely knowing with the conviction that you're there to own the room, own your message, own it all. Once we got that, that's fun. That's where we're going to work on some, like emotion cycles and learn how to really just fine tune your message, because that's really important, being super clear and being able to communicate it in a certain way. So we're getting close. We're getting close. The next one is one of my favorites. This is the non-negotiables, because I teach, I model out, we are to be well-boundaried women and men, well-boundaried. Boundaries are actually good for you. They are good for them. They're good for everybody. They feel maybe a little hard at first, but they're so necessary because you need to protect your energy, because you've got 2 floors and you are getting out of that elevator and you're speaking in front of a room full of people So you better have full access, protected to your energy, to your ability to show up fully present, locked in, well boundaried. And then last before not least, we are stopping at core worth because we got to seal that baby before we go to the top, which is exposure, right? You've got to know that you know that you know, and you are ready. You are prepared. You've done the proper preparation, prevents poor performance, the 5 Ps, and you are so ready and it's sealed. At the top, it's exposure. It's time. It's time to be visible. It's time to get out and own the room.
I love that. So many things in there that I would agree with, and I've always told people is like, yeah, boundaries are maybe difficult, like you said, or challenging at times, but they are absolutely important
They
to
saved
keep
my
them.
life, honestly. Learning about that and that it was good saved my life. Because in those last 5 years that I have been on this growth journey and the pandemic and all of the changes in my work life balance and having a nanny here and having kids and having an oopsie kid at 40, all of those things. I had a mother and father who built an in-law suite right next door. There's a lot of people in this environment that I like had to transition and assimilate with, all while that pandemic was going on. I'm putting masks on my little babies, sending them to school. It was just a very weird time, and I think it was honestly an opportunity for all of the pain and purpose to collide and to crash into one and kickstart me on this journey, which provided the download of the Presence Elevator. And I keep telling my husband one day he's gonna build me the image factory, and I'm gonna have a really amazing, like vintage gold, beautiful elevator that goes up, right? And we're gonna do this. I'm gonna have the best experts on every one of the floors, and we're gonna be producing the best, you know, good stewards, good stewards of their gifts, good stewards of their purpose. They are able and proud to own exactly what they were given to own, their assignment, all of those things.
Hearing you describe that, I don't know if you've ever met anyone, but there's people that have like this whole metaverse world where they can do Zooms and stages like on Zoom. And what you were describing is like, I could just see that as a whole metaverse thing with the elevator and the gold and people rising up. And then you have your expert on this level and that level. It just sounds like the design of your whole own metaverse that you could have.
I think it really has been, that vision baby we had.
Yeah.
That is a baby of the vision baby. And that's what happens when we allow ourselves to lean in. We allow ourselves to just dream and allow the imagination to build and to just build on what is in your heart. Because this is the one thing that I've actually seen. It's like I've manifested it and I've seen it come to light. And it's been hard,
Yeah.
but I'm not stopping. We're just getting started.
So I always tell people, it's like, I might be 58, but I'm just getting started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Emily, we only got a few minutes left. So you have 2 YouTube channels. Do you want to tell us about the Blazer Society one?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the Blazer Society is my coaching house. This was that vision baby that I had. It was the Blazer Society. First of all, I love a blazer.
And you look very good in it, very stunning.
Thank you, my darling. I love a blazer, and I'm on a mission to put blazers on every woman and get them access to a custom blazer. So I actually have a custom blazer maker in Pittsburgh that can do global measurements all across the world. I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing that I get to allow for belief to be borrowed and to say, yes, you do deserve a custom blazer. So the Blazer Society YouTube, it's a little underwhelming as it stands today, but this is where we will be just hosting the collaborative community building that I am going to be doing. I have a monthly coaching call. It's a group coaching, community building experience. I bring budding speakers, thought leaders in the corporate world who are really looking to just fine tune their message and get used to getting the reps in, maybe shaking out some of that nervousness and regulating their nervous system. So I'm creating a global virtual stage with the Blazer Society. And if there's any of your listeners that fits their world and they're looking to fine tune their message, we would love to have them on. I host different speakers every month. So that's where we will have all of that beautiful content. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot of quirky bloopers from me. So you're welcome.
That just makes life fun. You also have your Emily Merola YouTube channel.
I do. So that's going to be like the main thing. Okay. So I really am trying as an insurance executive. I do have a license in the insurance space. So, and I'm going to keep it live because now I am able to offer continuing education units to all of the content that I produce and the trainings that I offer. So that is so fun. But this is where Emily Merola, the trusted advisor, is going to be just hosting Blaze of Influence, the podcast, interviews that I do with people because I love an interview. There's nothing more than I love than just extracting and probing with people and learning more about them. I think that curiosity that I have, that young inner child curiosity, it never left. And so that's where I will be hosting amazing conversations with people who are blazing a trail, quite frankly. They are doing everything they can to live out their purpose, and they're doing it in a really amazing way. And I want to talk to them, and I want them to share their homework with myself and the listeners so that we truly are equipping the future leaders and giving them access to mentorship and to championship and opportunities to get their reps in, opportunities to be in a safe room and learn from other people. That layered learning and just getting into rooms that stretch you is truly what I'm committed to doing for both of those spaces. So stay tuned on the YouTube channels for just more of my collabs and sharing of homework.
Yeah, I love it. And I would say you are the perfect person to do that and pull them out. I love the mission that you're on. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time for joining us today and sharing all of that with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you and your leadership. Thank you for just pouring into this community on a regular basis. I love a mindful Monday. So honestly, that simple reminder is a gift in itself. So I'm so thankful to have you as a friend, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, and I always look forward to seeing where our collaborations and stuff are going in the future as well, because I love surrounding myself with you and beautiful people and the other guests and stuff that I have. I love working with like-minded and like-hearted people. So,
Yes.
but thank you so much for being with us. And I just want to remind you, though, in the words of Yoda, there is no try, it's do or do not.
Yes, ma'am.
One of my other mentors told me that too. It's like I always have that in my head to get that out of there.
I'm gonna put it in my back pocket.
There you go. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And if you are feeling overlooked and you want to go to Unmistakable, reach out to Emily. You can see how easy she is to talk to, and let her help you because she's been there and she can help you get to that next level and absolutely be unmistakable. So thank you for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday and a beautiful week ahead, and we will catch you all next time.
Thank you.